Hello and welcome back to another Cookie Tech video. So today I'm going to be teaching you on how to make your own anti-abuse system. This anti-abuse system will prevent spammers from spamming uppercase letters within your game and will just keep your game a generally cleaner place. It will also reduce stress on your staff members or the moderators within your community. So before I teach you on how to make your system, I'm just going to load into Studio and show you how it works. So with the power of editing, welcome to Roblox Studio, and I'm going to show you how the system works. So let's say I put a normal message into chat. Nothing happens. Let's say I put a rather spammy message full of capitals into chat. You'll see a little notification will pop up here saying, "Warning, you have 2 warnings left. Please do not continue to abuse caps." So let's continue to abuse caps. I'm going to spam F. And you'll see we get another warning. You'll see it says you have 1 warning left. I'm now going to put in one more spammy message. And you'll see we were disconnected from the game. And it says you were kicked from the experience. You reached maximum warnings. So now I'm going to show you on how to make your own system that is exactly like this. And I'm going to teach you how to script it. Welcome to Roblox Studio. To start off, I'm just gonna make a new instance with the base plate. By just clicking on it, it will load us into a place. I'm going to make my Explorer a bit smaller, just so we can see more of the workspace. Keep in mind, for this tutorial to work, you'll need to have your Explorer and properties open. And to get started, we're going to organize our workspace. So I find it really important to make sure everything's clean. This helps me debug scripts and just keeps everything easy and relatively fun to find everything that I need to find. So I like using folders, and I'm going to make a folder and I'm going to call this warning system. Then I'm just going to copy it and then I'm going to paste it into script service, since I would like it to be there. And then I'm also going to place one inside of replicated storage. These are where all our folders will have to be. Since we want to communicate with the server to the client, we're going to need to use a remote function. So I'm going to click on this plus button and then I'm going to type in remote function. So make sure that you're using a remote function, not a bindable function. That's very important. So make sure it's called remote function. Then click on this and you'll see it will go into replicated storage. I'm going to rename it. You can rename it to what you like. I'm personally going to call it warn. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a local script inside of started UI. And then I'm going to call this script notification handler. Now I'm just going to close this up here. And then I'm going to open up script service. And I'm going to call this message handler. Now we're going to start scripting inside of this script. So to start off, we're going to define some variables. So the first variable we're going to call minimum percentage. And I'm going to set this to 70. And I'll explain why I'm setting it to 70. So basically, inside of your message, there is a word. So let's put our word, for example, word. Now, if we set minimum percentage to 70, it means over 70% of the letters inside word must be capital for them to face a punishment. So a word like this will be 100% uppercase, and since that is more than our minimum percentage, we would get punished. But if the word was lowercase, that is 0% uppercase, and that is not larger than our minimum percentage, which is set to 70, so we won't get punished. Next of all, I'm going to create our minimum role. And I'm going to set this to 0 for the time being, and then I'm going to get local group ID, and I'll set that 0 for now. Now, the reason I'm setting it to 0 is so we can customize this to our liking. So inside of our system, at the moment, anybody gets punished for whatever they do. I want to look it so that people inside of my group who are staff or above will not get punished. So to get our group ID, we're going to need to go to our group on Roblox. I'm going to be using the Cookie Tech group in this instance, but you can use your group or any other group to your liking. So here's the Cookie Tech group. I'm going to make that full screen just so you can see it a little bit better. And now to get the ID, I'm going to get this number here. Your number will be different to mine. And then I'm going to copy. And then I'm just going to close this. And I'm going to go back into Studio. And I'm going to paste group ID inside of here. Now you can see our group ID is set. Now, like I said earlier on, I wanted this system to only be restricted to staff members. So this means that if you're staff or above, you will not get affected by the system. So I want to make sure people who are moderator or above will not get punished. So to get the role ID, you can see there's a little number down here. You can see each role has a different number. Now I'm going to copy this number, which is for moderator. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it in to minimum role. I accidentally named minimum role minor role, so I'm just going to set that to min role, and there we go. So this means anybody who is above the moderator rank will not get punished. And you can see we have our admin, which is above moderator, and we have our developer, and all these people will not get punished by the system. So if they make words that are full of capitals, they will not get punished. So now we have a few more variables we want to set. So I'm going to leave a double line here, since we don't have to worry about customizing these too much. And we're going to set local characters to 0. We're going to set local uppercase characters to 0. If I'm making any grammar mistakes, just completely ignore them and put them correct. As long as you define them correctly in your script, you'll be all fine. And then we're going to say local percentage equals 0. Now we're going to define our warn function. Now the reason we're defining it is because we don't want to constantly define it in our script. If we make a variable, we can easily call it throughout our script. So we're going to put equals, and now we're going to get game.getService replicated storage. So this means we are now inside of replicated storage. Then we're going to put .warning system, which means we're now inside of the warning system folder. And then we're going to wait for child. And then we're going to call it warn. So now we've defined our warn function. We're going to now make some of our own functions. So to start off, we're going to make our punish function. So since we want this script to communicate with the client script, we're going to need to use a remote function to communicate. So we're going to define a function here, and I'm going to call this function punish. You can call it whatever you want to. I'm just going to go with punish. And then I'm going to put in player. I'm going to drop a line. It'll automatically add an end for us. And then we're going to put local punishment. And then we're going to say equals. And now we want to invoke the remote function that we put up here. And then we're going to say warn function. And we're going to invoke client. Since we don't want to invoke every single player in the server, we don't want to punish every single player, because that wouldn't be good, because if they're following the rules, we don't want them to get punished. So we're going to invoke a certain player, and this means when this remote function fires, it will only be affecting a specific player, and when we fire this punish function, we are passing a player, and only that player will get fired. Next, we're going to put in our probably the most complicated piece of this code, and we're going to be making the check word function. So we're going to say local function equals, and inside of our parameters we're going to put string, so this is the word they'll be saying, and then we're going to put in player, which is the specific player we'll be passing, and then now we're going to drop a line and it'll automatically add an end. Now I'm going to use a for loop, and we're going to say for underscore comma v in ipairs string split like this, and then we're going to say do. Now if you don't understand what we're doing here, that is completely normal. I'm going to show you how this works by just making a little function. You don't have to worry about writing this down, just watch and listen. So what we're doing here is we're splitting up the word that has been sent. So we're going to just put print v. This is just a test, so don't worry about putting this down. I'm just trying to explain it to you. And then I'm just going to put check word, and I'm just going to put some random stuff here, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to put a word, and we're just going to say hello. Then I'm just going to put a local player there, so don't worry about this. Just don't write anything down. This is just simply an explanation. And I'm going to play the game, and you'll see if I get the output out once we've loaded in. So to get your output, you can go to view, output. You'll see, if I just make it a tiny bit bigger so you can, there we go. You can see that the for looped for the word, and it looked at HELLO exclamation mark. So basically, it specifically looks at each letter inside of the word. That's how I would try explaining it to a beginner. I'm sure there's a lot easier way of doing that, but I'm not going to worry about that. But now you can see that this for loop loops for each letter inside of the word. Inside of this for loop, so we can remove this since we don't need it. And then we're going to say characters, if I can define it, plus equals 1. Now this means for every letter inside of the word, characters will be added up to 1. Then we're going to do if letter is not lowercase, then we're going to say uppercase characters plus equal 1. Then we're going to drop a line here, and we're going to say, in fact we won't do it inside of here, we're going to go out of the for loop, and then we're going to say local percentage. Now we're going to use maths here, so you don't have to be good at maths. We'll make the computer do all the maths, and you're just going to have to simply write math.floor. Now be careful with your brackets. I have put a script down in the description below, so if you want to get the source code down below, you can always do that. Just in case you want to make sure this line is right, what we do is we're going to put uppercase characters inside of brackets. So make sure we're calling the uppercase characters variable, and then we're going to put space or slash, and that will be dividing. Then we're going to put characters, then we're going to put a space, and then we're going to use the asterisk times, so you can times numbers with that, and then we're going to put 100 here. Now this will return a percentage, and now the important part is if we say if percentage is bigger than our minimum percentage, then punish, and then we're going to put the player that we defined up here that we want to punish. Now I would always recommend setting it to 70, that's what I did. I think it's a nice point to have everything at, but of course you can customize that. Now when we want the punish to fire, we want to make sure that all these values are affected, so all the players are not getting their punishment variables mixed up, since that will cause a ton of different errors we don't want. So I'm going to put characters equals 0, percentage equals 0, and uppercase characters equals 0. Now you'll notice that nothing is firing this check word function. That means that when the player chats, nothing's happening. So I'm going to put game.players.playerAdded connect function, and then I'm just going to get the player that joined. Now this line will say for each player that is added, fire a function. So now we're going to put inside of this function, when the player that joined the game chats or chatted, that's how you do it, we're going to say connect function. Now inside here we're going to put text, and then this will return what the player chatted. So I'm just going to give you an example here. I'm just going to say print text, and now I'm going to show you what this block of text does. So this is just an example, don't worry about copying this, and I'm just going to go into studio testing mode. I'm going to close these plugins, and then I'm going to go to output, and now you'll see when I chat, you can see when I send a message it went into the output. And now you can see for each word I type, it is shown inside of output. So that's good. Now, since we don't want players who are a certain rank in our group getting punished. We need to make sure that those players are not getting punished. So we're going to say, if the player, which we defined up here, the player that joined, get rank in group, so this will return a group ID, and we're going to put group ID, since that is the variable we assigned up here, is smaller or equal to minimum role, then check word, and then we're going to put the text, which we defined up here, so that's what the player sent in chat, followed by the player, which we defined up here, which will then fire this function, which will leadingly fire this function. So now that we've got all of the script inside of the server done, we need to get the client script done. And the client script is going to be local, so it will only affect the player that needs to be affected. So we can now close this, since this is all done, and we're going to go over to the Started UI warning system notification handler. So we can delete this default script, and now we're going to define a few variables. So if we go up here, we can copy this entire line of code. Since we want to get this function, we can close this once more, and we're going to paste it in for our first line. Then we're going to say local warning count equals 0. We don't have to worry about customizing that. For the next line, you'll want to customize, and that's local max warnings equals 3. So to my knowledge, the traditional warning amount is 3, and that's the max amount of warnings. So if the player gets 3 warnings, they will be punished. So if they get 3 warnings, they will be getting punished. You can set this to whatever you want. You can say that if they break rules, they instantly get punished. You can set it to 10, you could set it to 100, but I'm just going to go with the traditional amount, which is 3. Then I'm going to define the local started UI, and I'm just going to say game get service started UI, and I'm going to drop a few lines, and I'm going to create a function. So this function will be handling all the notifications. So I'm going to say notification desk, which is short for description. I'm going to enter, and then I'm going to use the started UI set core, which allows us to perform certain interactions with the core script, and we're going to say send notification. Then we're going to put comma, we're going to open a table, and we're going to press enter. Then we're going to say title equal, I'm going to hardcode this. You could set it to alert, you could set it to notification. I'm going to set it to warning, then put a comma, and then I'm going to say text equal description, which we are passing up here. Now I'm just going to give you a little test. If I put notification and type in how are you doing, for example, you can see when we run the script, a little notification will pop up in the bottom right of our screen with the certain description we set. You can see it pops up and it says how are you doing. So now that we've got that function done, we're going to put another function called warn function. So we're almost there. We've almost finished the script. So we're going to type in function warn, and we're going to say warning count equal warning count plus 1. So every time they are warned, a warning will be plussed onto their warning count. Now we're going to say if their warning count is more or equal to the max warnings, then we want to kick them. Because of course, if they have as many warnings as they should be getting punished. And we're going to say game.players.thelocal player. So only the player that is receiving the warning will get kicked, and you can type in a reason. You can put anything you want. I'm going to personally go with you have reached max warnings. Simple as that. You can set it to whatever you want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put else notification. We're going to call the notification, and we're going to say you have, then we're going to leave a space, and then we're going to concatenate the max warnings, a bit more maths here, take away warning count, and then we're going to concatenate it back on, warnings left, we're going to leave a space at the beginning, and then we're going to say please do not continue to abuse. And now we're almost there. The one final thing is that when the warning function is invoked on client invoke. We're going to say fire the warn. So make sure you don't put it as a function here, otherwise it will call too early. Just make sure that it's just like this. So we're just going to copy that here, and then that's all we need to do. So we're just going to check the system and make sure everything works. Close these plugins, and I'm going to spam capitals, and you can see something went wrong. So we got no errors here, and you need to double check what's happening. Okay, I just found out what the issue was. So, very silly bug, I should have known, but since we were using the Cookie Tech group, I'm the owner of the group. So basically, I'm just going to set this group ID randomly. Yes, I know, very silly mistake. And so basically, since I was the owner in the group, we made sure that people who are above a certain rank in the group don't get punished. Therefore, I wasn't getting punished. But if I set this group ID to a random ID now, you'll see if we run, we should eventually get warned. So keep in mind that it won't work unless you are the certain rank, unless you've configured it differently to me. So now let's try spamming caps. And you see we get warnings. You have 2 warnings left. Please do not continue to abuse. And again for the 3rd time, and you have been kicked. So I hope you all enjoyed using this tutorial. There will be the source code in the description down below if you'd like to use it. If you have any issues or need any help with your scripting support, please feel free to go to the forms in the description down below. And I hope you have an excellent afternoon, evening, or whatever you're doing. And that's all from me. Bye bye, and thank you for tuning in.